So, I apologize for not being here last week. I got stuck at work. I am sorry. Big install that was not supposed to happen until Tuesday ended up happening on Monday. So, great news. All right, but anyway, today we're doing a worded key. Next week, in the advanced class, we will be doing a project that is related to this worded key. It is a worded lock. I'm going to tell you what, let me turn off some of these lights here so we can see the screen a little bit better. Now, you may be wondering, what the heck is a worded key? And I will tell you that it is a key with space for words. So a worded key is words on a worded lock. Basically look like this illustration here that I found on Wikipedia. That works out real nicely. So these little curved items here, these are called wards. They're the obstacles that prevent a wrong fitting key from turning. And so we're basically just going to make a series of slots or notches into a key shape there, and that's going to be our project for today. And then next week we'll make the lock portion of things. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I would like to start by creating a new document here. I actually created a new project, and I called this project the Worded Lock Project, just so we keep everything organized if you want to start a new project. And if we want to, we can save this this new document right inside of that new project right away, so we don't have to be looking at the word untitled this whole time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. This might be a good... Can I not save? Oh, hey. Am I at my job limit?
Really? I thought it looks like it has two.
Job status. Why can't I look at my... There we go, 10 of 10. It won't let me save because I'm at 10 of 10. Let me just make a couple of these read-only real quick. Read-only. This key for prep.
Is that somebody at the door?
No, I think that is the forge.
Forge guy, the hydraulic.
Yeah.
Hydraulic hammer thing. I can't remember what it's called.
Okay.
Power hammer.
Yeah. All right, so.
Are you usually not here this late to hear the forge going? The hydraulics?
We usually don't. The forge usually doesn't go this late. It's kind of late for the forge, yeah. Unless it's a Friday. Unless it's a Friday.
I see Preston in there all hours of the night any day. The forge is Preston's main
It is.
home away from home. Actually, his home is his home away from forge.
Right. All right, so I'm going to start by making a new component because, like I mentioned, this project will eventually be more than one component, more than one part, and eventually I'd like to make the key rotate in the lock. So if we're going to add that rotation function to things, then we need to have components, and we might as well start with components right off the bat. So I'm going to click on Create, and I'm going to create a new component. And this new component, I'm going to call my key. Jeremy, I don't know if they have components in FreeCAD. Do they have components in FreeCAD or not so much?
Oh, sort of. So you have parts and then bodies.
Okay, cool.
In FreeCAD.
Yeah, so you're making a part.
Yeah, and well,
Yeah.
I guess it would be a part. Yeah, and then each body is like an individual extruded thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So yeah, I think it ends up being about the same. Just
And parts can have sketches involved with them.
Yeah, bodies even can have one or more sketches involved.
Oh, interesting. All right, cool. All right, so
remember how I said like you do multiple sketches instead of doing like one sketch just extruding different parts. You have to do individual ones, and so you have like your body, and then there's a ton of sub sketches that make it up.
all
If
right,
you have a ton of different
so
sketches.
let's go ahead and create a new sketch here.
I'm assuming our key is our active component.
Correct, yeah, the key is our active component, and now we're going to kind of draw the profile of our key here. I'm going to draw on the right side. Normally I draw on the front, but it makes sense maybe long term to have the key insert into the front of the lock. So I'm going to spin my navigation cube around so I'm looking at the right side, and I can easily tell which surface that is. So for me it's
X or Y, Z.
I guess I'm drawing on the ZY axis and the ZY plane. It doesn't really matter which plane you choose, but for my own OCD-ness, I'm going to draw on the right side. It doesn't really matter a whole lot. It's all just imaginary 3D space. Let's go ahead and begin by drawing a rectangle. This rectangle is going to be a 2-point rectangle, and this will eventually be the rectangle that kind of defines a couple of things. So it will define the length of our key, and it will define the thickness of the key barrel. So we're going to eventually revolve this rectangle. So I'm imagining this rectangle as, or my key as being like 5 inches.
Really? You're doing archaic.
Yeah, I'm going old school. Well, I'm going to 3D print it, so it's probably got to be pretty beefy in order to hold up. And I'm going to make the thickness of this 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to go with 0.125 there. You can also type in 1/8. Now you will notice that this rectangle is not connected to the origin. It is not constrained at all, and we want to solve that problem. I chose
5 inches would be
how many millimeters? Is that what you're asking?
close enough, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Go ask the communists.
Yeah, you're gonna have to call Vladimir Putin, because in this class we use freedom units. Actually, I think they use I'm sure they use the metric system in the Ukraine too. So yeah. All right. So let's get this sketch constrained here. What I'd like to do is first I'm going to specify a distance between this top line and my origin point here. Eventually I'm going to revolve things around the origin. So in order to define that distance, I'm going to go ahead and click on Create, and I'm going to add a sketch dimension. So if I choose Create and Sketch Dimension, and I specify that top line of my rectangle and my origin point, and then I move my mouse over here to place this measurement. Right now it's sitting at like 0.4 or something, but I want to make it yet again 1/8 of an inch. So 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch. Now you notice it turned, some of my lines of my rectangle turned black. Some of my lines are constrained. So I can't move my rectangle up and down, but I can move it right to left. And we want to fully constrain this rectangle here, so the way that I'm going to choose to do that is just by adding a horizontal vertical constraint. So from this constraints menu, I can choose this horizontal vertical option, and I can specify my origin point, and then I can specify one of the points that make up the end of my little rectangle. And you can see it kind of jumps right into place there. And then we're all set. All right, so I will say that the essence of a key, in my mind, the essence of a key is it is not the same as every other key out there. So I certainly encourage you to like take some creative freedom, or in this case, security freedom, actual freedom, in order to like change some of these measurements. So you can make yours, make it 5 inches, make it 4 inches if you want to. You could change the thickness slightly, or this will be our barrel size. It will eventually be double this distance. So you could change the barrel size if you wanted to. You know, make it your own for sure. All right, let's do draw the business end of this now. So from my create menu, I'm going to go ahead and grab my 2-point rectangle tool. And I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle that overlaps with that first rectangle. And now this too, we want you to have some, because this is the part of the key that's going to do the work of keeping things secure. I will let you choose to make yours as large or as small as you'd like to. I'm making mine 3/4 of an inch by, not 11, by 1. It seems like a decent size to me. But again, you can make yours bigger or smaller. In fact, I encourage you to make yours bigger or smaller than that, just so it's different. A different key is a good key. Let me just move my measurements around while you
One of those
guys.
blocks that keeps honest people honest.
Right, exactly. It also keeps dishonest people honest, hopefully. All right, so once we've specified a size here, now we can go through the business of adding our ward, the warded portion of this. So I'm going to go ahead and grab from my rectangle tool again, a 2-point rectangle. Now traditionally in locks, and again these are sizes that I encourage you to make your own. So so that's the size I'm going with here. That's the size of my first ward. Suppose I should be keeping this a secret and shouldn't be telling everybody where I'm putting all my wards. Here I go, putting this on YouTube and everything. But basically the gist of this is we want to add a couple of slots, randomish slots, in the form of rectangles. They could be rectangles that are different sizes. So like, for example, this could be a rectangle that is 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. And I'm also, in addition to adding sizes to my rectangles, I'm also adding dimensions for the distances between my rectangles. So you can see this rectangle is not fully constrained. I can just move this around all willy-nilly. We don't want that. We like fully constrained sketches. So I can come up and create a sketch dimension, and I can specify 2 points there and then give it a size. Traditional warded locks would only have wards that are flat like this, but I suppose there's nothing really in a 3D printed world, in a 3D printing world that we live in, from making angled wards, you could certainly do something like that. You know, where you get a triangle going on there. Or I've also certainly seen warded keys that either at the back or the front have a lock that goes in like this way. Like this is a interesting warded key for sure. If I dimension that from that, you know, there's certainly interesting shapes going on there for sure. Whatever kind of key you end up with, take your time, make yourself a key. Eventually we're going to go out onto the internet and we're going to design the back part of the key, the kind of ornate part of the key here. So when we do that, we'll go find an image online. But until then, let me kind of pull up some inspiration for your keys here. Here's a warded key. That's kind of cool. It's just, you know, 3 notches and a notch in the back. That's a warded key. So this probably fits in just a standard slot, but they chose to make the key portion of it kind of a little bit more detailed here too. This is also too probably standard little slot, but they chose to give some dimension to the key there. You could certainly do that. Like this is crazy. I would not want to have to make the lock for that key. That is a very ornate warding structure there with horizontal and vertical bits. That would be a difficult lock to fabricate, especially if you're a pirate. That's what I imagine is needing these kind of keys. Pirates. Because you got to keep your gold safe. Right? Your pirate booty?
Or a Mormon chastity belt.
Right. That could be it too. All right, let me come around and take a look at your lock shapes.
Still, trying to figure out. There's a nuance that I haven't figured out yet to accurately getting it to use external geometry to the multiple things. So I'm always going to be a little behind you at this point, which is okay. You can keep moving forward, and I'll just, you know, skip things.
Okay. Just trying to figure out a pattern
Nice.
here.
Yeah, you could certainly, you know, try to make something that has like a definite pattern to it. You know, I think it's really interesting that some of these keys, you know, the end of the key is as ornate as the handle part of the key. That's pretty cool.
You use circles,
And-
triangles, rectangles.
Boom! I
Well-
figured it out.
It would be difficult probably to use a circle, although I guess you could. Yeah.
You could have a circle as long as there's a thingy there.
Yeah, it's like then you'd have to have a donut shape
To
in the
key-
lock
to
portion
the-
of things.
Yeah, what's that?
And that's again like a difficult thing to manufacture unless you're in the modern time here, you know, like that's an interesting one there too. Worded key. Here's a little bit more modern looking worded key. So the wording structure on this is just much longer, right? But still, this is still a worded key. And then, you know, most of these keys here, they have an end that's, the pin fits inside of that, and it rotates on the pin. Here, this is the opposite of that. This has got the pin built into the key, so it goes into a hole or a slot when it rotates around. Yeah. Worded keys, man.
It'll probably work better than the master lock.
Maybe. Probably not, actually, because I'm going to make mine out of plastic. So, you know.
Oh, don't wait for me, by the way.
No, you're good.
I did figure out what I needed, which is excellent because I've been trying to figure that out for several hours. But under the crunch, suddenly I figured it out.
Nice.
So.
All right. So once we've got our word pattern, that's what I'm going to start calling it, the word pattern. Once we've got that in our key, now I can go ahead and say finish sketch. And we've got a sketch that we can name here. So if I spin open the triangle next to my key component, we will see we have a sketches folder inside of that component. And inside of that sketches folder is a sketch that we can name. This is my key profile.
Oh, and I made a mistake.
All right, so now that we've got our key profile here, let's go ahead and extrude out our actual key bit there. So from the Create menu, I'm going to go ahead and choose the Extrude tool. And I'm going to go ahead and select the little worded section and then the little rectangle above it. So eventually we're going to revolve this rectangle above it. But for right now, we'll include it in our extrusion. I'm going to extrude this not in a direction that is one side. I am going to extrude this symmetrically. And I'm going to do the whole length measurement as opposed to a half length measurement. And again, here's some opportunity for creative freedom. I'm going to go with 1/4 of an inch. Again, because I'm probably going to 3D print this. And it'd be nice to have a little bit of meat there when you go to 3D print something. So 1/4 of an inch. And I think a skeleton key or a worded key is kind of a little beefier key anyway. Alright, now that we've extruded out our first bit here, let's go ahead and make the shaft part of our key. So from my Create menu, I'm going to go ahead and find the Revolve tool. And if I hide my body that I just made, so it's easy for me to select this profile to revolve. It lets me pick that one too. Sometimes when a sketch when there's a body in between you and a sketch, it is difficult to select it. But here Fusion is smart enough that if I choose the part that I can see first, it knows that, like, oh look, you're trying to select another part of the profile that is behind this body. If I try to do it the other way around, it doesn't let me choose that body or that part of that sketch back there. So if I choose the long part first and then the short part second, and then the axis that I'm going to revolve this around is going to be my y-axis, my green axis there. And I'm not going to cut, I am going to join. I'm going to join these things together. Joining them up. Nice board.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. The inspiration for this video over the weekend, I was watching YouTube as I do, And I found Adam Savage is my secret best friend, even though we've met. I actually met Adam Savage one time. Yeah.
What do you make?
Adam Savage is super cool. I got to meet him anyway, so I watch his videos a lot. And he made a warded lock for a key that he had. Kind of reverse engineered a lock based on a cool key. So that's the inspiration for this project. And once we've got our object revolved, I'm going to go ahead and say Oakley Dokley. I got a body that I can go ahead and name. This is, I'm going to call this my key. Eventually, this is going to be the key. Behold, the key! All right, and I am going to hide my sketch. Why not? I'm going to hide my sketch. So, we have a poorly functional key at this point. And it's poorly functional because it's got no handle. And, I guess you could figure out how to turn it. But it would be difficult without a handle. You gotta have some leverage in there, I think. And that's what the second half of this class is going to be about here. I would like you to go out onto the internet, and if you search for the words vintage key, this is the search term that I have determined gets me keys that I think look cool. Because the back part of the key, I think is the cool part of the key. Some of these keys, the front, the words are kind of cool looking, but the back part is ornate and pretty and fun. And those are three things that I want all my projects to be. Maybe not ornate and pretty, but definitely fun. We want one of those three things all the time. And so if you find an image of a back of a key or the hand grip of a key that you like, well, see, I think this is really cool. I like all these little details here. This is fun. But if you find the image of the back of your key that you like, this one's actually got a skull on the back of it.
Molding patterns, I think that's called.
Molding patterns? I like the three knobs. I think I'm going with three knobs. But you can certainly pick something more ornate if you want to. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be bringing this photo into Fusion 360, and we're going to be drawing on top of it. So if you choose something very ornate, that's totally fine. If you choose something a little bit more simple, that is also totally fine. In fact, this image has got a whole bunch of different shapes on it, and I'm going to roll with this. So if I right-click, save image as, look, it's even a JPEG file. If I call it my key handles, and I just save it right to my desktop, I'll give you guys a minute to find your image of a great key back. The handle part of the key, the most ornate and ergonomically highly engineered piece of craftsmanship. Alright, and also you certainly don't need to do this part if you don't want to trace over an existing image. You could just draw your own. I will totally let you. It's your key. you can do whatever you want with your key because it's yours. All right, but if we are using an image here, if you do want to try doing this, what we'll do is we're going to insert a canvas. Jeremy, I'm not sure if FreeCAD can do this. Can insert a canvas.
Wally.
I'm sorry, Wally. How many times have I called you Jeremy so far today?
Just twice.
Yeah, all right, sorry.
Well, actually, before class, there was
Yeah.
like at least one or two.
Oh,
Man.
But I'm okay.
Wally.
I knew who you meant, so I just went with it. I can roll with it.
So yeah, I'm going to insert a canvas here. I'm going to insert it from my computer. And I'm just going to navigate to those key handles. And then I'm just going to choose a face to put that on. Now I've got this little widget here. Unfortunately, I can't really zoom in on the widget. It always stays the same size. But I've got a couple of different handles here. So this curved angle in the corner between this line and this line, this is a scale in one direction, and this is a scale in the other direction. And this is scaling in both directions at the same time.
Nice.
And you can see as I click and drag that gets bigger. I can rotate it around
Oh.
so it's at the right angle, and then I can scale it up until one of those round bits is about the right size. One of
That's how
those
you get
little
about the right
ornate
size.
bits at the end. I'd say that looks about right. And now I can line one of these up just by clicking on this little box. I'm clicking and dragging on this box, and I can pick one that I can line it up with.
Let's see.
I'm going to pick one that's not going to be too much of a pain in the butt for me to trace over. Ooh, I like this one over here. This one. Yeah, that's good. And I'm probably going to use this as kind of a loose representation of what I'm actually going to draw. The canvas tool here has an opacity automatically of 50%. And you can certainly turn that up and make it darker, make the image darker. It's certainly easier to see. I lean towards that direction often. And then I'm going to say OK once I've got that canvas placed.
Oh no.
Am I going too fast? How are we doing? Slow down a little bit. How you doing, Mike?
I'm
Oh,
many steps behind right now. The revolve and the extrude killed me.
Oh,
Something with my sketch, it didn't like it.
Oh, interesting.
Same for mine, but for probably different reasons.
Alright.
I haven't gotten it to. I got it to successfully, but I can't get it and my other pad to coexist for some reason.
I'll tell you what. Let me
Just
pause
kind of
here.
annoying. Because it would actually be technically a floating body.
But now we can resume here, and I'm just going to go ahead and make the back part of my key here. So
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and grab from my Create menu. I'm going to create a sketch. I'm going to draw it on that same plane that I made my original sketch on.
Open.
And now I've just got a shape that I can trace over here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my rectangle tool. I'm going to kind of assume that this is symmetric, that this is symmetrical.
Okay, let's-
So maybe what I'll do is I'll just start drawing be helpful to have the existing geometry that is the top part of my key here. So in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and project this geometry over. So from my Create menu, I'm going to go ahead and choose the Project Include option, and then over to Project. I'm going to project just that top line there. It's actually a cylinder, top of my cylinder. And now I can just kind of start drawing out whatever shape this is going to be with my combination of my line tool and probably some splines is what this is going to end up being. So if I come over and grab from my Create menu, my Fit Point Spline tool, then I can just kind of click and trace along these curves until I have a shape that I'm happy with. I'm going to draw a line that's going to bisect this key topper in half. Oh, why my checkbox is appearing way over there? Maybe I'll draw a little 3-point arc.
Yep.
That'll kind of finish the outside of this key shape up.
Oh, like you have to head out?
And then the
Yeah, totally.
inside of this key, I'm just going to kind of freehand here. So I'll do one of these with a 3-point arc. This looks like this could be a part of a circle, which will also can be drawn with a 3-point arc there. And then I've got a little arc bit here, it looks like.
Evening,
And
gentlemen.
a little arc bit here. Play nice. And if I have to send you both to the principal's office again,
Damn it.
the principal is
I
going
did go
to
to Wally's office.
suspend you for sure.
You're gonna send me back to his. Last time you did weird stuff to me back here.
Still hurts, man.
You asshole.
We don't-
I'm scared.
Okay, so
All right, and then once I've got half of my key drawn there, in order to make the other half,
okay, we're gonna
I'm just going to mirror
part design.
my objects over. And once I mirror my objects over, I'm going to come take a walk around, see how you guys are doing
Insert sketch.
with the key toppers that you have chosen for yourselves, or the key handles that you've chosen. I'll kind of highlight the one that I made, or the one that I copied, I guess you could say. Copying is the most sincere form of flattery for whoever drew this key initially.
Who or whomever.
Whomever, yes, exactly.
Ooh.
Okay. I wouldn't say
Nice.
Paul. I figured that
Circle's
just straighten
good.
it.
Circle's good. Circle is a totally functional option. Right here. And then the little scale up thing there is the little fork in between the two lines.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can you even see? Yeah.
Interesting. he called it ellipse. What it's called, or let's see, draft ellipse button. Where is that? There, let's cancel that guy. That. Cancel that guy. This data is apparently yeah, but it's actually really easy to navigate for sure. Way easier than it says. Let's see. Okay, you know where it probably is. It's
So then once we have our shape drawn, I can go ahead and say finish sketch. And then it's the last steps we got to do here are pretty easy. So we just have to extrude out our topper. I'm going to extrude this symmetrically, just like we extruded symmetrically the worded key portion of our shape. And I'm going to extrude it the same amount. I'm going to go 1/4 of an inch. And I'm actually going to say join. I'm going to join it to our key shaft. And then, last but not least, we're missing a key feature. Aha. See what I did there? See what I did there? We're missing a key feature, as in a feature of our key that is very important. And that's a stopper ring. So when we plunge this into a lock, you want to have a ring somewhere on your shaft here that kind of prevents it from going in too far. This is also kind of sets the depth that your key goes into the lock. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that to my original sketch. So way back at the beginning of class, we made that first sketch. I'm just going to right click on it and edit that sketch.
Oh, could you repeat what you just said? Sorry, I was trying to make 2 circles.
You're good, you're good. Way back at the beginning of class, we made our very first sketch.
Yes.
And I'm going to add to that sketch. This is a thing that hopefully you can do. You can add to a sketch.
Yes, I just have to go back to the sketch.
Yeah, so I'm just going to edit that sketch. And I'm going to add in an extra little rectangle. Make a little 1/8 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. Again, this is totally up to you where you put this rectangle. I'm going to dimension it away from the end of the key. 1/4 of an inch is probably pretty good. So I just added this little bump out down here. So now when I say finish sketch, the only thing I have to do is to modify this revolve that I did to edit the feature where I revolved my key. And I'm just going to add that little notch in there. And then I can say OK. Now we've got our little stopper in there. You can certainly, people make these very ornate as well. And I support your choices. You can make your key as ornate or as plain as you would like. You can, I could go crazy with a bunch of fillets here if I wanted to. I could fillet my stopper.
Fill it up.
Fill it up. I could add some fillets on my the kind of ornate part, the hand grip part of my key. Couple more fillets before we finish up. Sometimes it's easy to select a line from the opposite side of a body, and sometimes it's just easier to spin it around. Why not? Let's make it all fillet everything.
Okay.
And this is going to be probably a pretty small number. There we go. Alright. Oh, something happened to my very first fillet. There we go. One worded key. I'll walk around here and see how you're doing as you're continuing to work on your key ends. And if you join us next week, we are going to make the lock, the worded lock part of this key in the advanced class. So we will see you next week.